The sun rose over the vast plains of Kurukshetra, casting golden light over the two massive armies gathered there. The land, sacred through centuries, was now the stage for one of the greatest wars the world had ever seen. The war of the Mahabharata between the Pandavas and the Kauravas. Far away, in the palace of Hastinapura, the blind king Dhritarashtra sat anxiously. Though he could not see, his mind was clouded with worry and conflict. He turned to his trusted charioteer and divine seer Sanjaya and asked, "Oh, Sanjaya, gathered on the sacred field of Kurukshetra, what did my sons and the sons of Panda do?" Sanjaya, blessed with divine vision, could see everything unfolding on the battlefield. With deep reverence, he began to narrate. The preparation for war. On the battlefield, the Kaurava prince Duryodhana stood tall, gazing at the army of the Pandavas. A skilled warrior and a shrewd leader, Duryodhana was also deeply insecure. Seeing the opposing army so well arranged, he approached his teacher Dronacharya, the revered master of warfare who had taught both sides. "Acharya," said Duryodhana, "look at this mighty army of the Pandavas, arranged by your talented disciple Drishtadyumna. They have great warriors, Bhima, Arjuna, Satyaki, Drupada, and many others. But we too have heroes, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashvathama, and Vikarna. Our strength is unmatched, especially under the command of the mighty grandsire Bhishma. Let all our warriors protect him with everything they have." Bhishma, the elder of the Kuru dynasty and a warrior of unmatched valor, blew his conch shell. It roared across the sky like a lion's cry, signaling the start of battle. The sound was followed by a chorus of drums, bugles, and conches for both sides, as the earth trembled with anticipation. Krishna and Arjuna enter the battlefield. From the Pandava side, Lord Krishna, serving as the charioteer of Arjuna, stepped onto the battlefield in a grand chariot drawn by white horses. Arjuna, the hero of the Pandavas, picked up his celestial bow, Gandiva, and prepared for war. As the drums and conches blared, Krishna blew his conch Panchajanya, Arjuna blew Devdutta, and Bhima blew Pandra. The rest of the Pandava warriors followed suit, filling the sky with a thunderous sound that shook the hearts of all who heard it. Arjuna, gazing across the field, saw familiar faces, friends, cousins, teachers, uncles, all preparing for war. A strange unease crept into his heart. He turned to Krishna and said, "O Krishna, place my chariot between the two armies. I wish to see those who have come to fight, those with whom I must do battle." Krishna silently obliged, driving the chariot between the two forces and stopping before Bhishma and Drona, the very teachers who had trained Arjuna from childhood. Arjuna scanned the battlefield. His eyes fell upon his grandfather Bhishma, his beloved teacher Drona, his cousins, uncles, brothers-in-law, and even old friends. His heart sank. What was he doing? With trembling voice, he said to Krishna, "O Madhava, seeing all these kinsmen arrayed for battle, my limbs fail, my mouth is dry, my body trembles, and my bow slips from my hand. How can I fight against my own family? I do not desire victory, kingdom, or pleasures purchased at the cost of blood." The words poured from his heart like a flood. What joy will there be in a kingdom stained with the blood of those I love? Even if they desire to kill me, I cannot bring myself to fight them. It is better I lay down my arms and be killed unresisting. Arjuna's spirit, once so fierce and determined, was now consumed by sorrow and confusion. The battlefield, which moments before had felt like the place of honor and duty, now appeared to him as a place of tragedy. Once upon a time, in the ancient land of Bharat, there was a valiant warrior named Arjuna. Renowned for his unparalleled archery skills, Arjuna was a beloved member of the Pandava lineage, destined to face grand challenges in his lifetime. But not all battles are fought with sword and shield. Some are fought within heart. One day, as the sun rose over the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjuna stood poised, ready for a great confrontation. On this large expanse of land, two mighty armies were gathered, each side fighting for justice, for dharma. Yet, amidst the clamor of warriors and the dust of the battlefield, a profound silence settled around Arjuna's heart. As he prepared to fulfill his duty, he looked across the field and saw faces he cherished, friends he loved, mentors who had guided him. The prospect of battling his own kin was more terrifying than any foe he had ever faced. Overcome with emotion, Arjuna stepped back to the safety of his chariot. He lowered his bow and set it aside, his heart heavy with sorrow. I cannot fight these people, Arjuna thought to himself, for they are my family, my dear ones. His mind was a swirling sea of confusion, and he sat down, his head hung low. The brilliant warrior was caught in a storm of doubt. Suddenly, in this hushed moment, the compassionate voice of Lord Krishna, his charioteer, reached his heart. "O Arjuna," Krishna gently spoke, "this battle is not just of the body, but of the spirit. To pursue the path of righteousness sometimes means confronting the hardest truths." Arjuna listened intently. He knew Krishna's wisdom was vast, and his words were meant to illuminate his clouded heart. "Though you stand amidst conflict," Krishna continued, "never lose faith in your purpose. Kindness, trust, and duty guide the soul." As Krishna's words unfurled a tapestry of enlightenment before him, Arjuna began to see beyond the mist of sorrow. With a nod, Arjuna rose, not with resolve of a warrior seeking vengeance, but with the calm strength of understanding. Ready to follow the path of Dharma, under the watchful eyes of the universe, Arjuna prepared to embrace his destiny, not with the clashing of swords, but with grace, wisdom, and love for all. As the stars lined the night sky, the battlefield was still. But the greatest lesson had been learned. A true warrior fights the battle within, for only then can he emerge victorious. In this quiet realization, Arjuna found peace and hope, feeling safe in the knowledge that he was not alone on this journey. The sky above Kurukshetra darkened as dawn broke, the earth trembling slightly under the feet of millions. Two vast armies faced each other, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, cousins now turned mortal enemies. Conches blew, horses neighed, and warriors tightened their grips on weapons. Amidst the chaos, the chariot of Arjuna, driven by Krishna, remained still. Arjuna, the mighty warrior and greatest archer of the Pandava brothers, stood paralyzed with doubt and despair. His bow, the Gandiva, slipped from his hand. His body trembled, and his eyes welled with tears. "Krishna," Arjuna said, turning to his divine charioteer and friend, "my heart is overwhelmed with sorrow. I see my kinsmen, my teachers, my cousins, my uncles and friends arrayed for battle. How can I raise my bow against them? Even victory seems hollow when it comes at the cost of their lives." And so began a conversation that would echo through the ages, a discourse on life, duty, and the eternal soul. Krishna looked at Arjuna, his gaze calm, timeless. With a gentle firmness, he replied, "Arjuna, your sorrow is born of ignorance. The wise do not grieve for the living or the dead." Krishna continued, his voice like a clear stream cutting through fog. "There was never a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor these kings. And there will never be a time when we cease to be. The soul that dwells within the body is eternal. It is neither born nor does it die. Weapons cannot pierce it, fire cannot burn it, water cannot wet it, and wind cannot dry it." Arjuna listened, his heart stirred but still confused. "But Krishna," he asked, "if the soul is eternal, why should I fight and cause suffering?" Krishna smiled gently, "Because your duty, your dharma, as a kshatriya, is to fight for righteousness. Action is inevitable. No one can abstain from action entirely. Even to maintain your body, you must act. But what matters is how you act. Then he explained the path of wisdom, Sankhya Yoga, the yoga of knowledge. Arjuna, he said, you have the right to perform your prescribed duty, but not to the fruits of your actions. Do not let the outcome of your work be your motive, nor let your attachment lead you to inaction. Act with a steady mind, seeking no reward, and you will achieve peace. This is Buddhi Yoga, the yoga of equanimity. When your intellect transcends the mire of delusion, you will become indifferent to gain and loss, pleasure and pain, success and failure. Arjuna's eyes cleared slightly. The heavy fog of doubt began to lift, but questions still lingered. Krishna, he asked, how does one recognize a person of steady wisdom? What are the signs of one established in true knowledge? And Krishna, patient and ever kind, answered, the sage of steady wisdom is one who casts off all desires born of the mind and is content in the self alone. Such a person is not disturbed by sorrow nor elated by joy. He neither craves nor rejects. He described the sthitaprajna, the one with steady intellect. Just as a tortoise withdraws its limbs into its shell, so does the wise man withdraw his senses from worldly objects. He sees beyond illusion and lives in the reality of the self. Krishna warned of the dangers of desire. When a man dwells on objects, he develops attachment. From attachment comes desire, from desire anger, from anger confusion, from confusion loss of memory, and from loss of memory the ruin of discrimination. When discrimination is lost, he perishes. Arjuna lowered his eyes, absorbing each word. But he who controls the senses with the mind, Krishna continued, who remains unattached and focuses his awareness on the self, he attains peace. And in peace, all sorrows end. As Krishna spoke, a transformation began within Arjuna, not outwardly visible, but profound. The fears that gripped his heart began to loosen. The despair that bent his shoulders began to lift. He looked at the battlefield again, not with dread, but with a sense of clarity. He now understood that life was not the mere span between birth and death, nor success defined by worldly gain. He saw that his duty was a sacred offering, and that the soul within all beings was eternal and untouched by the acts of the body. Krishna, he said quietly, your words have cleared the confusion from my mind. I now see the path ahead more clearly. Yet I know this is just the beginning. Teach me more. And thus ended the second chapter of their sacred dialogue. As the sun rose higher over the fields of Kurukshetra, the chariot bearing Arjuna and Krishna stood motionless amidst the roaring chaos of the battlefield. The conversation between the warrior prince and the divine charioteer continued, calm amidst the storm. Though Arjuna's mind had cleared somewhat from the earlier despair, new questions now stirred within him. Krishna, he asked with furrowed brows, you praise knowledge over action, yet you urge me to fight. If knowledge is superior, why should I act at all? Why not renounce this battlefield and pursue spiritual wisdom in solitude? Krishna smiled, his eyes reflecting the infinite. You speak of renunciation, Arjuna, but your thoughts are not yet free from confusion. Simply avoiding action does not lead to freedom. No one, not even for a moment, can truly remain inactive. The forces of nature compel every being to act. He leaned forward, placing a gentle hand on Arjuna's shoulder. There are two paths, Arjuna, he said, the path of knowledge for those inclined to deep contemplation, and the path of action for those who serve the world through their duties. But understand this, even those on the path of knowledge must act. The key is not whether you act, but how you act. Arjuna listened carefully. Around them, the armies stood poised, unaware that a divine revelation was unfolding in the heart of the battlefield. Krishna's voice rang clear. Perform your duties, Arjuna, without attachment to the results. This is karma yoga, the yoga of action. When you act without desire, you purify your heart. When you work for the good of others and not for selfish gain, you rise above bondage. He paused, allowing the message to settle. Long ago, I created the universe with sacrifice in mind, he said, a spirit of offering. Humans were given duties, and the gods were given gifts in return. Thus, the cycle of life flows harmoniously when all beings uphold their roles. Arjuna raised a brow. But what if someone refuses to act? What if they withdraw and do nothing? Krishna responded, that is delusion. Even if one renounces action outwardly, inwardly the mind still acts. Hypocrisy arises when a person restrains the body but dwells mentally on desires. Far better is the one who performs duties with the right spirit, offering all to the divine, detached from gain or loss. He pointed toward the horizon. Look at the world. The sun shines without asking for reward. The wind blows without pride. Great souls like King Janaka perform their duties and attain perfection. You, too, must act, not just for your sake, but to guide others. What a great person does, the world follows. Arjuna lowered his head in thought. You say all actions are done by nature, yet we believe I am the doer. What then is the truth of action, Krishna? Krishna replied, indeed, actions arise from the gunas, qualities of nature, sattva, goodness, rajas, passion, and tamas, ignorance. These qualities move the body, the senses, and the mind. But the self within, your true essence, is untouched, a witness. Those who understand this act in harmony with their nature, without ego. He added, let the ignorant who identify with their actions continue to act. Do not disturb their understanding. Instead, inspire them through your own example. Then Krishna gave Arjuna a powerful warning. If, out of ego, you say, I will not fight, your nature will still drive you to action. You were born a warrior. Even in renunciation, your inner fire would burn with unfulfilled duty. He looked deep into Arjuna's eyes. You are bound by your own nature. So better to act in alignment with your nature, imperfectly, than to perform another's duty perfectly. Even death in one's own dharma is better than false perfection in another's. Arjuna felt a stirring in his chest. His doubts began to dissolve. The meaning of karma yoga, selfless action, duty without attachment, began to take root in his soul. Krishna, he asked softly, what makes people commit wrong, even against their own will, as if driven by force? Krishna replied, it is desire, Arjuna. Born of rajas, it is the all-consuming enemy. Just as smoke shrouds fire, desire clouds wisdom. It hides the truth from the soul. Arjuna clenched his fists. He now recognized the enemy not only on the battlefield, but within himself. How can I conquer it? By mastering your mind, said Krishna. By knowing yourself to be higher than the senses, the mind, and even the intellect. Steady your mind in the self. Slay desire, the destroyer of knowledge and realization. Thus, you will free yourself and act in true freedom. The wind on the battlefield picked up, fluttering Arjuna's banner, which bore the image of Hanuman. In his heart, something shifted. He looked at his bow, no longer with fear, but with understanding. He realized now, this war was not only about kingdoms. It was about restoring Dharma. It was about performing one's role in the great cosmic order, not with selfish desire, but as an offering to something greater. Krishna, radiant and serene, nodded, as if reading Arjuna's heart. So rise, Arjuna. Act without attachment. Let your actions be your offering. This is the secret of karma yoga, the path of liberation through work done with devotion. Chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita, which is Karma Yoga, where Krishna teaches the importance of selfless action without attachment to results. Lord Krishna teaches that life is not about escape from responsibility, but about engaging fully with the world while remaining inwardly free. Through Krishna's teachings, we learn that duty performed without selfish attachment becomes a path to spiritual liberation. We are all part of a larger wheel, the wheel of Dharma, and by performing our roles with sincerity and without ego, we contribute to the harmony of the whole. The battlefield may be Kurukshetra, or our own lives filled with conflicts and decisions, but the path is the same, to act selflessly, anchored in wisdom and guided by our highest nature. The Flame of Wisdom, story of Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 4. As the sun climbed steadily over the plains of Kurukshetra, the two armies awaited the moment of battle. In the heart of the battlefield, Arjuna remained on his chariot, his doubts slowly dissolving under the light of Krishna's teachings. But questions still flickered in his mind like the final shadows before dawn. "Krishna," Arjuna asked, "you say that you taught this eternal wisdom to Vivasvan, the sun god, who passed it to Manu and then to kings of old. How can I understand this? You were born recently, while they lived ages ago." Krishna smiled, his expression deep with mystery and kindness. "Yes, Arjuna," he said, "you and I have passed through many births. You do not remember them, but I remember them all. Though I am unborn, eternal, and beyond decay, I take form in the world through my own divine power. Whenever Dharma declines and injustice rises, I incarnate, age after age, to protect the good, destroy evil, and re-establish righteousness." Arjuna looked at Krishna with awe. The man before him was not just his friend or charioteer. He was the divine, the eternal presence taking human form to guide humanity. "But Krishna," Arjuna said, "if all actions bind people, how do you remain untouched by karma?" Krishna answered, "Though I act, I remain unattached to the fruits of my actions. So should you, Arjuna. Perform your duty without attachment, and you too shall remain free." Krishna's words flowed like the sacred Ganges, clear, cleansing, and full of power. Long before this war, the ancient seekers followed this path of karma yoga. They acted, not for personal gain, but with awareness and surrender. Follow their footsteps. Work should be done as a sacred offering, not for reward. Those who understand this truth find freedom in action. He paused and added, "Even the wisest are often confused about what is action and what is inaction. Real wisdom lies in understanding the deeper nature of action." Arjuna leaned forward. "What is that deeper truth, Krishna?" Krishna's gaze grew intense. "He who sees inaction in action, and action in inaction, is truly wise. Such a person sees that the body may act, but the soul remains still. When you surrender the ego, let go of desire, and offer every action to the divine, your actions no longer bind you." He continued, "Imagine a sage whose every act is an offering. For him, the fire is divine, the act of offering is divine, the object offered is divine, and the one who receives is divine. Through this sacred vision, all his actions are transformed into worship." Krishna then spoke of the different kinds of spiritual offerings: study, austerity, meditation, and selfless service. But the greatest offering, he said, is the offering of knowledge. "Why is knowledge the greatest offering?" Arjuna asked. "Because Arjuna," Krishna replied, "knowledge burns ignorance like fire burns wood. Nothing in this world purifies like true knowledge. It is the highest purifier." He leaned in closer, voice gentle but firm. Approach the wise with humility, service, and sincerity. Ask them your questions. When they see your devotion, they will share their wisdom. and that knowledge will liberate you from all confusion. Arjuna's eyes brightened. And what happens, Krishna, when I gain that wisdom? You will no longer be deluded, Arjuna, Krishna said. Lord Krishna said, you will see all beings as part of the one self. Even if you were the greatest sinner, knowledge would carry you across the sea of misdeeds, just as a boat crosses a river. Krishna's words pierced Arjuna's heart like rays of the sun cutting through clouds. He added, the man of faith, discipline, and devotion attains knowledge, and having attained it, he finds lasting peace. But the one who lacks faith and is full of doubt perishes. He is lost in this world and the next. Arjuna bowed his head. Doubt has long clouded my heart, but your words light a fire within me. Krishna offered one final teaching to seal the lesson. Therefore, Arjuna, cut through this doubt with the sword of wisdom. Stand up, arise, take action with a clear mind and a pure heart. Arjuna felt a profound shift within. What had once seemed a terrifying battlefield now appeared as a sacred stage, where the great drama of life and dharma would unfold. And where his role, his duty, was to play his part with courage and wisdom. Epilogue. This chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, the yoga of knowledge and renunciation of action, is a revelation of the divine nature of Krishna and the sacredness of action. In this chapter, Krishna unveils profound truths, that he incarnates again and again to protect Dharma. That action, when done without attachment, is a path to freedom. That true wisdom sees beyond appearances, finding stillness in action and divinity in the ordinary. That self-knowledge, gained through humility, service, and devotion, is the highest purifier. This chapter encourages us not to escape the world, but to engage with it, wisely, selflessly, and spiritually. It reminds us that every action can become a form of worship when done in the right spirit, and that divine knowledge is not the privilege of the few, but the birthright of every sincere seeker. In the battlefield of life, the torch of wisdom that Krishna offers Arjuna still burns, guiding each of us to fulfill our duties, conquer our doubts, and walk the path of truth with fearless hearts. As the chariot remained still in the middle of Kurukshetra, a silence grew between Arjuna and Krishna, not one of absence, but of deep reflection. Arjuna had absorbed much: the imperishable soul, the importance of duty, the power of knowledge, and the path of selfless action. Yet another question troubled him, rising like a wave in the vast ocean of his thoughts. Krishna, Arjuna asked, you have praised both renunciation of action and action performed with detachment. Tell me clearly, which of these two is better? Krishna's face remained calm, his eyes shining with wisdom. Both paths, Arjuna, he replied, can lead to liberation. But between the two, karma yoga, selfless action, is the superior path for most. The renunciate who acts with inner freedom is truly wise. One who performs their duties without attachment, who offers the fruits to the divine, is the true renunciate and the true yogi. Arjuna tilted his head. But is it not better to abandon action altogether? Krishna shook his head gently. Merely giving up action without inner detachment is not true renunciation. True sannyasa is not about leaving the world, but about leaving behind desire, ego, and attachment. The one who acts with a surrendered heart, free from likes and dislikes, is the one who truly finds peace. He continued, the wise understand that they are not the doers. Actions arise from the play of nature's qualities, gunas. But the self within is untouched beyond all doing. When this is realized, the soul is free even while the body still acts. Arjuna's brow furrowed. How does such a person live, Krishna? How does he walk among people, yet remain untouched by the world? And so Krishna told a story. The story of King Janaka's garden. Long ago, there lived a great king named Janaka, renowned not only for his wisdom, but also for ruling with perfect detachment. Though surrounded by wealth, palaces, and responsibility, he remained untouched within. Like a lotus leaf floating on water, never wet, never burdened. Every morning, Janaka would walk through his royal garden. The gardeners bowed to him, awaiting instructions. But Janaka never gave orders with pride or attachment. He would simply observe and smile, knowing that the flowers bloomed not by his command, but by nature's design. One day, a wandering sage arrived at the gates and asked to meet the king. "I hear King Janaka is a renunciate living in a palace," he said. "I must see if such a thing is even possible." He was brought to the king's chamber. Janaka welcomed him warmly. "O king," said the sage, "you live among gold and silk, surrounded by pleasures. How can you claim to be a renunciate?" Janaka smiled. "Come walk with me." They walked through the palace. Servants bowed. Music played. A banquet was being prepared. "Do you see these things?" Janaka asked. "I enjoy none of them with desire. They belong to the kingdom, not to me. I eat to nourish the body. I sleep to rest the senses. But my soul is free." The sage was unconvinced. "But you still act. You command, you rule, you decide. Surely action binds you." Just then, Janaka stopped by a tree and pointed to a leaf. "This leaf trembles in the wind," he said, "but it does not break. It moves, but remains whole. Such is the way of the wise, acting outwardly, but rooted inwardly." He turned to the sage. "I could leave my throne today and wander the forests, but it is not renunciation to abandon duty. True renunciation is in the mind." The sage bowed low, understanding at last. "O king, you have taught me more by your stillness and action than all the scriptures combined." Back on the battlefield, Arjuna listened as Krishna concluded the story. "You see, Arjuna, one who acts without selfishness, like Janaka, is not bound by karma. The wise see the same self in a Brahmin, a cow, an elephant, a dog, or an outcast. This vision of unity is the fruit of knowledge." Krishna continued, "Pleasures born of contact with the world are temporary. They bring joy, then pain. But the yogi who finds happiness within, joy in the self, is eternally free. He neither craves nor fears. He is steady amidst praise and blame, heat and cold, success and failure." Arjuna closed his eyes. The battlefield sounds faded in his mind as Krishna's words echoed in his heart. "The truly free," Krishna said, "have conquered desire. They act without selfish aim. They are content with whatever comes. They are masters of their senses and offer all action to the divine. Such a person attains peace, not through escape, but through wise and loving engagement." He added, "The one who renounces desire and ego, who acts with purity, and who finds joy in the well-being of all, such a soul is united with me. That soul is liberated." Then, with great compassion, Krishna offered a final assurance. "Arjuna, I am the friend of all beings. I dwell in the hearts of all. Whoever knows me in truth, acts with devotion, and renounces attachment, finds me, and in me they find peace." Epilogue. Chapter 5 of the Bhagavad Gita. Karma Sannyasa Yoga, the yoga of renunciation, compares the paths of action and renunciation, stressing inner renunciation over physical withdrawal. Karma Sannyasa Yoga teaches that liberation does not depend on outward renunciation, but on inner detachment. The enlightened person does not necessarily abandon action, but performs it selflessly, without ego or craving. Krishna helps Arjuna and all seekers understand that the true path to freedom is not in fleeing the world, but in transforming our relationship with it. Whether we are warriors, kings, or gardeners, we can all walk the path of liberation if we act with wisdom, surrender, and compassion. In this chapter, Krishna reveals that peace is not found in what we give up, but in how we live. When every action becomes an offering, when every being is seen as divine, and when the self becomes our anchor, we are free, even in the midst of war. Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 6, Karma Sannyasa Yoga, the Yoga of Renunciation. The sky over Kurukshetra remained heavy, filled with the tension of war. Yet Arjuna, standing on his chariot, was now being led not through war strategies, but through the deeper terrain of the soul. Each question he asked Krishna peeled back another layer of truth. Krishna, Arjuna said, "You have spoken of action without attachment and of renunciation. But tell me, who is the better yogi? The one who renounces the world and lives in solitude, or the one who remains in the world and performs his duties without attachment?" Krishna's eyes sparkled with the calm of eternity. "Both paths are noble, Arjuna," he said. "But greater is the yogi who performs his duty with detachment. He is a renunciate even while living in the world. True renunciation is not about giving up action. It is about giving up attachment." Arjuna listened intently, and Krishna continued. "Let me tell you about the yogi, Arjuna. He is one who has conquered his mind. He is content, whether he is surrounded by gold or dust, friends or enemies, pleasure or pain. He remains the same, calm, balanced, and peaceful." Arjuna looked out at the field, scattered with warriors preparing for war, and felt a longing rise in him. "How can one reach such peace, Krishna? Is it through meditation?" "Yes," Krishna said, "dhyana, or meditation, is the gateway to that inner stillness. The yogi who meditates with discipline, dedication, and faith becomes one with the self. He experiences divine joy, untouched by the world." Then Krishna told a story to make this clearer. The Hermit and the Warrior. In a peaceful forest nestled between mountains, there lived a hermit named Rishi Vetran. He had renounced the world and lived in a cave, sustained by fruits and roots, spending his days in deep meditation. His eyes glowed with serenity, and he spoke rarely, only when needed. One day, a young warrior named Sudarshan climbed into the forest, seeking the hermit. He was troubled, not by outer wars, but by an inner restlessness. "Great Rishi," he said, bowing low, "I have trained in battle, served my kingdom, and won praise. But my heart feels empty. I wish to renounce the world and find peace like you." Rishi Vetran looked at him with eyes full of quiet knowing. "And what is it that you seek to escape?" "My duties," Sudarshan replied. "The noise, the pain, the struggle. I want to be free from all of it." The Rishi invited him to stay. For weeks, Sudarshan lived like the hermit, meditating, eating little, and speaking even less. But his mind wandered. He thought of the kingdom, his family, his past battles, and his future. He could not find the stillness he had imagined. One morning, the Rishi asked, "Tell me, Sudarshan, what fills your thoughts during meditation?" "My past, my duties, everything I left behind," he confessed. The Rishi smiled. "Then you have not renounced the world. You have only run from it." He continued, "True renunciation is not about hiding in forests. It is about quieting the mind, wherever you are. You must become a yogi not by location, but by discipline. Go back, Sudarshan. Return to your life, and do your duties without clinging to success or failure. Meditate daily. Let your heart remain in the self. That is the path." Sudarshan returned to his life, not as a restless warrior, but as a steady yogi in armor, living in the world, but no longer of it. Back on the battlefield, Arjuna absorbed the story. Krishna then described the method of meditation. The yogi, Krishna said, should go to a quiet place, free of distractions. Let him sit in a steady seat, not too high, not too low, on cloth, deer skin, and kusa grass. There, with mind steady and body still, he must meditate on the self. He should focus on me, Krishna, with unwavering attention. Let him withdraw his mind from wandering again and again, gently guiding it back. Like a lamp in a windless room, the mind of a yogi remains steady in meditation. And when he reaches that stillness, what does he feel? Arjuna asked. Krishna answered, he feels joy that is beyond the senses, joy that comes from his soul. He becomes free from all cravings. He sees all beings as the same and delights in the well-being of others. The yogi who loves me and sees me in all is never lost to me, nor am I ever lost to him. Then Arjuna asked a question filled with concern. What if one fails, Krishna? What if a person begins the path, but falters before reaching the goal? Do they lose everything, both worldly life and spiritual progress? Krishna answered with compassion. No, Arjuna, the one who strives for the good never perishes. Even if they fall, their efforts are not lost. They are born again in circumstances where they can continue their journey, perhaps in a noble or spiritually awakened family. In that new life, Krishna continued, they are drawn to spiritual practice as if remembering something from a distant dream, and with renewed effort, they reach the goal. Arjuna's heart filled with both relief and hope. And what is the highest among all yogis, Krishna? Krishna smiled. The greatest yogi, Arjuna, is the one who loves me with unwavering devotion, who surrenders all actions to me, and who sees me in all beings. Such a yogi is truly united with me. Epilogue. Chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita, Karma Sannyasa Yoga, the yoga of renunciation, compares the paths of action and renunciation, stressing inner renunciation over physical withdrawal. Also known as Dhyana Yoga, is a timeless guide to the path of meditation and the characteristics of a true yogi. Krishna teaches that true renunciation is inner detachment, not outer withdrawal. A yogi is one who has mastered the mind and lives in self-discipline. Meditation is the means to steady the mind and find the self. Failure on the path is never wasted. Progress continues across lifetimes. The highest yogi is the one who loves God with pure devotion and sees all beings equally. This chapter invites each of us to become warriors of the inner world, not by running from life, but by transforming it through presence, practice, and surrender. Whether on a battlefield or in a forest, the forest of the mind must be cleared before peace can dwell. And through meditation, love, and discipline, that peace becomes not just possible, but inevitable. The Ocean Within, Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 7. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the clang of armor had not yet given way to the sound of war. Arjuna still stood in awe of Krishna, who had revealed truth after truth, each deeper than the last. But now, Arjuna's heart was ready for something greater. His mind, once clouded by doubt, longed for knowledge, not just of duties and actions, but the eternal essence behind all things. Krishna, he asked, you've spoken of the self, of yoga, and of meditation. But tell me now, who are you really? What is the source of this universe? And how can one know you in truth? Krishna smiled, the sunlight shimmering around him like gold. Listen well, Arjuna, he said. Now I shall reveal to you the supreme knowledge, both the knowledge of the mind, jnana, and the wisdom of realization, vijnana. With this, there will remain nothing further for you to know. Arjuna nodded, and Krishna began. The story of Anvi and the ocean, far from Kurukshetra, in a coastal village nestled beside the vast ocean, lived a young girl named Anvi. She was curious, always asking questions about the world around her. One day, as she watched the waves roll in and out, she asked her father, a simple fisherman, "Father, where do the waves go after they crash? And where do they come from?" Her father smiled and said, "They come from the ocean, and they return to it." Envy thought deeply. "Then the wave is not separate from the ocean?" "No, my child," he said, "the wave only appears separate, but its true nature is ocean." That night, as she lay in bed, Envy dreamed of walking on the sea. The waves whispered to her, "We are not many. We are one. We rise and fall, but we never leave the ocean." She awoke with wonder. "What is the ocean of everything?" she asked herself. Back on the battlefield, Krishna explained, "Arjuna, I am that ocean. Everything arises from me. All things, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intellect, and ego, are my lower nature. But beyond this is my higher nature, the living force within all beings." He paused, then said with great gentleness, "Know this, I am the cause of all that exists. There is nothing beyond me. All the worlds rest in me like pearls strung on a thread." Arjuna's eyes widened. "Pearls on a thread?" "Yes," Krishna said. "Just as the thread runs through all pearls unseen, I run through all creation. I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and moon, the sacred syllable Om in all the Vedas. I am the fragrance of the earth, the heat and fire, and the life in all beings. I am the intelligence of the intelligent, the strength of the strong, and the desire that aligns with righteousness, the sage and the forseekers." In a forest hermitage lived a wise sage named Vyamdev, known across the land for his profound wisdom. One day, forseekers arrived, each from a different path of life. The first, a merchant, said, "Master, I seek wealth and safety. I pray to God when I'm afraid." The second, a scholar, said, "I study scriptures and seek truth. I wish to understand the nature of the divine." The third, a sorrowful man, said, "My life has been filled with pain. I pray to end my suffering." The fourth, a quiet soul, said simply, "I seek only the Lord. Nothing else interests me." Vyamdev welcomed them all. "You have each begun your journey toward the divine," he said. "Though your reasons differ, all paths, if walked with sincerity, will lead to the one." They looked puzzled. "But are all motives equal?" the scholar asked. "No," Vyamdev replied, "but they are stepping stones. Some come to God in distress, some in curiosity, some in pursuit of knowledge, and some in devotion. But the one who loves God alone, he is the most dear." Then he pointed to the sky. "The rain falls on all, but only the open vessel collects it. Open your heart fully, and you shall receive divine wisdom." On the battlefield, Krishna echoed this to Arjuna. "Among thousands of men, perhaps one seeks me. Among those who strive, perhaps one truly knows me. The world is deluded by the three qualities of nature: sattva, goodness; rajas, passion; and tamas, ignorance. These bind souls to illusion, making them worship lesser powers, forgetting the one behind all forms." But Krishna continued, "Those whose delusion is destroyed by wisdom take refuge in me alone. They understand that I am the eternal source of all creation." Arjuna asked, "Then why do so many worship other gods and powers?" Krishna replied, "Whatever deity a person worships with faith, I make that faith steady. Their wishes may be fulfilled, but those rewards are temporary. Those who worship me, the unmanifest, eternal supreme, attain the highest goal." The real treasure. Envy grew up, always pondering the nature of the ocean and of God. She traveled to temples, studied scriptures, and met sages. But nothing satisfied her heart fully. One day, sitting by the sea, she closed her eyes and meditated on the waves, rising, falling, never ending. She suddenly felt something shift. The ocean was no longer just water, it was consciousness. The waves were thoughts, forms, people, lives. Everything was the ocean. Everything was God. Tears streamed down her face, not of sadness, but of recognition. You are everything, she whispered. And yet, you are beyond everything. Back at Kurukshetra, Krishna ended his teachings of that chapter with one profound truth. Arjuna, all this is my divine illusion. But those who surrender to me cross beyond it. They're the wise who see me everywhere, in all beings and all things. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end. Conclusion. The essence of Chapter 7. Jnana Vijnana Yoga, the yoga of knowledge and wisdom, where Krishna reveals his divine nature and explains the knowledge of both material and spiritual worlds. Krishna reveals himself as the ultimate source of all creation, both the material and spiritual energies. True wisdom is not just intellectual jnana, but experiential vijnana. Many approach God for different reasons: fear, curiosity, knowledge, or devotion. But the highest is the devotee who seeks God alone. The world is veiled by the illusion of nature's three qualities, but surrender to God helps one transcend this delusion. Understanding the divine behind all forms leads to liberation and eternal union with the Supreme. In the ocean of existence, we are all waves seeking to remember that we are never separate. Chapter 7 is an invitation to know, not just the world, but the divine thread behind it all. Through knowledge and in wisdom, the soul begins to remember its origin, the eternal, the infinite, the one. The flame that never dies. Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 8. As the sun lingered on the horizon of Kurukshetra, casting long shadows across the battlefield, Arjuna's mind turned to the deepest questions of existence. Krishna, he asked, what is Brahman? What is the self? What is karma? And what happens at the time of death? How can a person truly remember you in that final moment? Krishna's eyes, full of compassion and wisdom, met Arjuna's gaze. These are noble questions, Arjuna, he said. Let me answer with a story, one that reveals how the soul journeys beyond the limits of life. The story of Rishi Arunika and the dying king. In a peaceful kingdom long ago, there ruled a wise but aging king named Vikrant. Though loved by his people, he was tormented by one fear, death. He summoned the great sage Rishi Arunika, known for his serene wisdom. Sage, Vikrant said, I have conquered lands and ruled justly, yet when I close my eyes, I tremble. I do not know what lies beyond death. What if everything ends? Arunika sat silently, then replied, Great king, if you truly wish to know what lies beyond, come with me to the forest. Leave your crown behind, for what we seek cannot be worn over gold. Vikrant agreed and spent his final years learning the path of spiritual realization. One night, Arunika began his teaching. There are three truths, O king. He said, Brahman is the imperishable, the highest reality, unchanging and eternal. The self, or Adhyatma, is the soul that dwells within every being. And karma is action, that which binds the soul to cycles of birth and death. Vikrant listened eyes wide. The time of death, the sage continued, is the most sacred. Whatever one remembers at that final moment, that alone the soul attains. So one must live a life of remembrance, of surrender, of meditation on the eternal. The king asked, and how does one prepare for that final hour? Arunika smiled and said, through yoga, steady devotion, disciplined mind, and unwavering focus on the Supreme. Back on the battlefield, Krishna explained further to Arjuna, whatever being one remembers at death, that being one becomes. So remember me always. Mama Nusmar Udaya Ca. Think of me and fight. If your mind is fixed on me, without distraction, you shall surely come to me. Arjuna's eyes sparkled with both hope and awe. Krishna, what form does the Supreme take? What happens to the soul that remembers you at death? Krishna replied, I am the one eternal, the ruler, the subtle essence behind all beings. Those who know me as the all-pervading self and remember me at life's end attain my divine nature. They are not reborn. He paused, then continued, Close your eyes and listen, Arjuna. I will describe the way. The path of light and the path of darkness. There are two eternal paths, Krishna said, the path of light and the path of darkness, one leading to liberation, the other to rebirth. The path of light is for those who depart at the time of fire, in the bright half of the month, in the sunlit phase. They reach the eternal and are not reborn. But those who leave during the night, in the dark half, return to the world again. Arjuna asked, Are these times literal, Krishna, or do they symbolize something deeper? Krishna smiled. They are both real and symbolic. The path of light is the path of knowledge, self-discipline, and devotion. The path of darkness is ignorance, material desire, and forgetfulness of the self. The king's final test. Back in the forest, King Vikrant's time approached. He lay beneath the open sky, the stars above him like silent witnesses. Rishi Arunika sat beside him. Remember what I taught you, the sage said softly. Vikrant closed his eyes and focused on his breath. He had practiced this for years, drawing his mind inward, controlling the senses, fixing his awareness on the divine. As the last breath neared, he spoke, O Infinite One, Source of Light, take me into you. I offer myself with all I have known into the flame that never dies. He passed with a smile. A divine light emerged from his body, like a golden bird, rising toward the heavens, free, unbound, and eternal. Krishna continued to Arjuna, the yogi who controls the breath, fixes the mind between the eyebrows, chants Om, and departs with me in his heart reaches the highest state. The wise know that all worlds, even the highest like Brahmaloka, are temporary, but those who attain me never return. Arjuna asked, How does one reach this state, Krishna? Krishna answered, Through unwavering devotion, bhakti, by surrendering all actions to me, knowing me as the Supreme, and constantly remembering me, one reaches me. This is the supreme goal, beyond which there is no return. The flame within all, far away, a young boy named Tarun, son of a potter, sat near a fire. His father told him stories of kings, sages, and gods. Father, he asked one night, is God far away in the sky? His father chuckled. No, my child, God is in the fire, in the breath, in the earth beneath us. He is in you and in me. Can I find him? Tarun asked. Yes, his father said. Live honestly, love everyone, and remember him always. If you do that, even death will be a doorway to him. Tarun smiled, and the fire reflected in his young eyes, like a symbol of the eternal flame Krishna spoke of. Conclusion. Akshara Brahma Yoga, the yoga of the imperishable Brahman, talks about the eternal soul and what happens at the time of death. In Chapter 8, Krishna explains the ultimate truth of the soul's journey. Brahman is the imperishable, unchanging reality behind all. Adhyatma is the self, the soul that is eternal. Karma is action, the cause of bondage. At the moment of death, what we remember is what we attain, hence the need for constant God remembrance during life. There are two paths, one leading to liberation, light, and one leading to rebirth, darkness. Through devotion, self-discipline, and meditation on Om, one can merge with the Supreme. The ultimate goal is union with Krishna, after which there is no return to worldly sorrow. This chapter teaches us not to fear death, but to prepare for it, not with dread, but with devotion. It reminds us that our final moment can be our greatest victory if we live a life of remembrance. Whether you're a king, a warrior, a sage, or a potter's son, the Supreme waits not in faraway heavens, but within your own heart, eternal, silent, and shining. The Hidden King, Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 9. Long ago, in a lush valley between golden hills, there lived a young boy named Samar. Orphaned at a young age, Samar lived alone near a temple that had long been abandoned. Though poor in possessions, he was rich in wonder. Every day, he spoke to the stone deity in the temple, not with ritual, but with affection. "O Lord," he would say, "I know you live in the sky and in my heart, but why can't I see you with my eyes?" One night, he dreamed of a voice, gentle and bright. "Samar, the highest truth is not hidden in distance, but in plain sight. The greatest secret is not one of silence, but of surrender." Samar woke with tears in his eyes. He didn't understand it yet, but a seed had been planted. Far away, in the middle of the Kurukshetra battlefield, Arjuna stood frozen, overwhelmed by questions of duty, life, and God. Krishna, his divine charioteer, had been guiding him through the storm of confusion. Now, sensing Arjuna's heart was ready, Krishna revealed the royal path, the path of royal knowledge and royal secret. This knowledge, Krishna said, is the king of sciences and the king of secrets. It is pure, eternal, and brings immediate realization. It is practiced with faith and love, and it leads to eternal joy. Arjuna listened closely. He had heard many teachings, but now Krishna's voice became more intimate, more loving. "I pervade and support this entire universe, Arjuna," Krishna said. "All beings exist in me, though I am beyond all. Understand this. Though I am everywhere, I remain untouched." The puppet maker and the clay. In a nearby village, a humble puppet maker named Vidura crafted beautiful puppets from clay and cloth. He sculpted each puppet with care and painted each face with love. A curious student once asked him, "Master, do the puppets know you made them?" Vidura smiled. "No, child. They dance on the stage, lost in their own world. They think themselves separate, but they were all shaped by me, and return to me when the show ends." "Then you are within each one?" "Yes," Vidura nodded. "My breath gave them form. My hands gave them shape. Without me, they're still clay. Just like the puppets, we too forget our maker, not realizing that the divine exists within all of us, silently guiding, supporting, and loving." Back at Kurukshetra, Krishna revealed, "Foolish people do not know my higher nature. Deluded by the material world, they see me only as a human being. But the wise, those with hearts full of love, know me as the unborn, the supreme." Arjuna, I am the ritual, the sacrifice, the offering, the sacred fire, and the act of worship. I am the father and mother of the universe. I am the beginning and the end, the source of light and life. I am the goal and the shelter. Arjuna was awestruck. "Then you're not just in heaven or in temples. You are in everything." Krishna smiled. "Yes, Arjuna, I am within and beyond, the invisible thread in every heart." The story of Lila the dancer. In the city of Mathura, there was a dancer named Lila. She danced not for money, nor for fame, but as an offering to the divine. Before every performance, she would bow her head and whisper, "This is for you, my beloved Lord." Many mocked her devotion. "You dance?" They laughed. "But where is your God?" Lila only smiled. "I feel him in every movement. He is the rhythm in my feet, the fire in my spirit, the silence in my heart." Years passed. One day, she fell ill and could no longer dance. But her devotion did not fade. Instead, it deepened. Sitting in silence, she would close her eyes and whisper, "Though I cannot move, my soul still dances for you." And when her time came, she left this world not in fear, but with a smile, whispering his name. Krishna said, "Even the most sinful person, if they turn to me with devotion, is to be considered righteous, for they are on the right path. In no time, they become pure." Declare this boldly, Arjuna. My devotee never perishes. He continued, whatever you do, whether eating, offering, giving, or practicing austerity, do it as an offering to me. In this way, you will be freed from the bondage of karma, and you shall come to me. Samar's realization. Back in the hills, young Samar had grown into a kind, wise-hearted youth. One day, a wandering monk arrived at the temple. "Why do you pray to this old stone image?" the monk asked. Samar replied, "Because I see God in it, and I feel him in the wind, the trees, the animals, and even you." The monk smiled. "Then you have understood what many scholars do not, that the Supreme dwells in all and accepts all forms of love." That night, Samar again heard the voice in his dreams. "I accept even a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, if it is offered with love. I care not for rituals, but for the heart. That is my secret." He woke up in joy. The abandoned temple seemed alive. He lit a lamp and whispered, "This is all I have, Lord, but it is yours." In that moment, Samar was free, not from poverty but from doubt. He had found the treasure of knowledge. Conclusion. The essence of Chapter 9. Raja Vidya Raja Gya Yoga, the yoga of royal knowledge and royal secret, reveals the most confidential knowledge about devotion and God's supreme nature. This chapter unveils the deepest truths of devotion and God's omnipresence. God pervades all existence but remains above it. All beings exist in God, though he appears invisible. God accepts even the simplest offering if given with love. One need not be perfect to begin devotion. Even the worst sinner can transform. The path of love and surrender is the highest and available to all, regardless of caste, background, or past. Krishna assures that he is both the destination and the journey, the lover and the beloved, the mystery and the revealer. Whether you are a warrior like Arjuna, a dancer like Lila, a potter like Vidura, or a child like Samar, the Lord resides in you. He waits not for your perfection, but for your sincere love. That is the royal knowledge. That is the royal secret, and it is yours to discover. The infinite forms of Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga. The battlefield of Kurukshetra was charged with tension. Armies stood face to face, ready for the great war. Chariots gleamed under the sun, conches were blown, and warriors gripped their weapons tightly. But amid this chaos, one chariot stood still. In that chariot, the great warrior Arjuna sat, his heart torn between duty and despair. Beside him, holding the reins of the horses, stood Krishna, his divine guide and friend. He folded his hands and bowed slightly. "O Krishna," he said, "you have said that you are the origin of all things, the supreme being who dwells in all. I believe your words completely, but I long to understand more. Please tell me how I may know you, how I may meditate upon you, and in what forms I may see your divine presence." Krishna looked at him with compassion, his face radiant with timeless wisdom. He began to speak, not as a friend now, but as the Supreme Lord revealing his infinite manifestations. "Arjuna," Krishna said, "I shall tell you of my divine glories, but know this, they are endless. Even 1,000 lifetimes would not be enough to speak of all my forms. Yet I will share a glimpse, enough for you to see how I dwell in all. I am the self that resides in the heart of all beings. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all that exists. Of the 12 radiant sons of Aditi, I am Vishnu, the preserver. Of lights, I am the sun. Of stars, I am the moon. Among the Vedas, I am the Sama Veda, the melody of devotion. Among gods, I am Indra, the king of the heavens. Of senses, I am the mind. Among living beings, I am consciousness. Arjuna listened with wide eyes. Krishna's voice carried the power of the cosmos, and yet his words soothed Arjuna's troubled heart. Among the Rudras, I am Shiva. Among the Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am Kabura, the Lord of Wealth. Of mountains, I am the mighty Meru. Among priests, I am Brihaspati, the guru of the gods. I am the thunderbolt among weapons. I am the lion among beasts, the eagle Garuda among birds. Of flowing rivers, I am the Ganga. Among trees, I am the sacred Ashvatha, banyan tree. Arjuna now began to see the deeper truth. Everything around him, from the smallest sound to the greatest force, was Krishna's form. I am time, the destroyer of all. I am the beginning of all creations. Of demons, I am the righteous Prahlada. Of warriors, I am Rama. Among fishes, I am the shark. Among purifiers, I am the wind. Of the Pandavas, I am you, Arjuna. Krishna smiled. In all beings, I am desire, righteous and in harmony with Dharma. With every example, Krishna was showing Arjuna that the divine is not distant, hidden in the clouds, or confined to temples. Rather, the divine is woven into the very fabric of the world, in light and sound, in strength and wisdom, in the silence of the mind and the roar of the lion. Krishna's voice grew softer, though still filled with vastness. Whatever is glorious, beautiful, or mighty, know that it is a spark of my splendor. But Arjuna, what need is there to know all these details? With just a single fragment of my being, I support the entire universe. Arjuna sat in silence, overwhelmed not by fear, but by awe. He no longer saw Krishna merely as a charioteer, or even as a god among men. He now began to see that Krishna was the infinite, the eternal, the all-pervading. He bowed his head, tears of realization brimming in his eyes. "O Krishna," he whispered, "now I see. In the roaring wind, in the rising sun, in the strength of warriors and the wisdom of sages, you are there. You're all. Please guide me always." Krishna placed a gentle hand on Arjuna's shoulder. "This knowledge, Arjuna, is the secret of secrets. Those who know it with devotion are united with me. They see me in everything and everything in me. Such souls are truly wise." Conclusion. In this chapter 10 of the Bhagavad Gita, which is Vibhuti Yoga, the yoga of divine glories, Krishna describes his divine manifestations and powers in the world. Krishna reveals his divine manifestations, not as abstract philosophical ideas, but as living expressions of the divine in the world around us. Every force of nature, every virtue, every form of beauty and power is shown to be a vibhuti, divine glory of Krishna. Arjuna's request was not for more intellectual knowledge, but for a deeper vision, a way to see the divine within the material world. Krishna responds not by pointing to heaven, but by pointing to life itself, to the sun and the moon, the lion and the river, the wise and the devoted. Through this, he teaches that God is not separate from the world, but immanent within it. Summary of Chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga, the yoga of divine glories. Arjuna asks Krishna to explain how he can be known through his divine manifestations. Krishna describes himself as the source of all creation and present in all beings as the inner self. He lists many of his vibhutis, divine glories, such as Vishnu among Adithyas, the sun among lights, Indra among gods, Shiva among Rudras, the lion among beasts, the Ganga among rivers, Rama among warriors, and many more. Krishna emphasizes that all forms of power, beauty, wisdom, and greatness in the world are expressions of his divine energy. He concludes by saying that these glories are but a fraction of his true being, and even a small portion of his power sustains the entire universe. The Cosmic Vision, Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 11. The battlefield of Kurukshetra trembled with tension. Warriors stood in silence, their hearts pounding like war drums. But at the center of it all, time seemed to pause. Prince Arjuna, noble and valiant, sat in his chariot, still gripped by inner conflict. Arjuna's mind was torn between duty as a warrior and love for his kin on the opposing side. At the reins stood Lord Krishna, his friend, guide, and charioteer, who had patiently answered all of Arjuna's questions so far. But now, something deeper stirred within Arjuna, something that sought to go beyond words. Krishna, Arjuna said with humility in his voice, "I now understand your teachings. You've told me about your divine nature and how you're the source of all that exists. I believe you, but if it pleases you, show me your true, cosmic form, the form that encompasses the whole universe. Let me see you not just as my charioteer, but as the supreme being you truly are." Krishna looked at Arjuna with gentle eyes, his smile full of compassion. "O Arjuna," he said, "you are blessed, for you seek what many great sages have longed to see. But this form of mine, the Vishvarupa, the universal form, cannot be seen with ordinary eyes. I shall grant you divine vision. With it, behold my cosmic glory." And with those words, Krishna transformed. In an instant, the serene figure of Krishna vanished, and in his place rose a form that defied imagination, a being of unimaginable magnitude, brilliant like 1,000 suns rising in the sky. Countless faces, eyes, arms, and ornaments radiated from him. Each direction he faced revealed another world, another dimension. Mountains, oceans, stars, gods, and all living beings seemed to rise and fall within him. Arjuna gasped, unable to comprehend what he saw. It was as though the past, present, and future danced together inside this one supreme form. He saw Brahma, the creator, seated on a lotus. He saw Shiva, the destroyer, with his third eye blazing. He saw sages and celestial beings singing hymns, and also terrifying visions of time consuming everything in its path. A turn to fear. Arjuna's hands trembled. His voice choked. "O Lord of Lords, I see you everywhere. Your arms stretch across the skies. Your mouths burn like blazing fire. I see all the warriors from both sides rushing into your mouths, like rivers flowing to the ocean. Their heads are crushed between your teeth. The world is trembling with fear, and so am I." Arjuna bowed low in reverence. "I have seen your form as the creator and the destroyer. I see that time itself is you devouring all. All these warriors are doomed to die, regardless of what I do. You are the end of all beings." Krishna spoke with a voice that echoed through the heavens. "Yes, Arjuna, I am Time, the great destroyer. I have come to annihilate these armies. Even without you, they are already slain by fate. But you, Arjuna, are my chosen instrument. Rise, fight, win glory. Conquer your enemies. Fulfill your duty as a warrior." Tears welled up in Arjuna's eyes, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming realization of divine truth. "My Lord, he said, "Forgive me. In ignorance, I have called you friend. I have jested with you, sat with you, eaten with you, thinking you were only a man. Now I know you are the infinite, the shelter of the universe. Please forgive me." He bowed again, this time in total surrender. "I can no longer bear the sight of this terrifying form. Please return to your gentle form. Let me see you again as the loving Krishna, with your flute, your smile, and your peaceful eyes." Krishna, pleased with Arjuna's devotion, gradually withdrew the cosmic form. The suns faded. The many faces disappeared. The universe shrank back into the single, familiar form of Krishna, the calm, radiant being Arjuna had always known. Arjuna felt as if he had returned from a great storm into a peaceful garden. "O Krishna," he said softly, "my mind is now steady. My doubts are gone. I am ready to do as you command." Krishna nodded with serene approval. Thus ended the divine revelation, the moment when a mortal man saw the universe in the form of God. And from that moment on, Arjuna was no longer just a warrior. He was a soul awakened, ready to serve a purpose far greater than himself. Meaning and symbolism of Chapter 11 of the Bhagavad Gita is known as Vishwapa Darshana Yoga, the yoga of the vision of the universal form, where Krishna reveals his cosmic form to Arjuna, showing his all-encompassing divine nature. This is one of its most powerful and symbolic chapters. It represents the moment when the seeker, Arjuna, is granted divine insight, the ability to see reality beyond appearances. The Vishvarupa, or the universal form, is not just a supernatural vision. It is a profound metaphor for the oneness of all existence, the cycle of creation and destruction, and the eternal presence of the divine in all aspects of life. The terrifying parts of the form symbolize time and fate, which consume all things. Krishna's message is clear. Do your duty, but understand the deeper truth behind actions. Outcomes are already woven into the fabric of time. What matters is the spirit in which you act, with devotion, clarity, and surrender. The Path of the Heart, Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 12. After witnessing Lord Krishna's cosmic form, Arjuna's heart had settled into a deeper peace. The battlefield of Kurukshetra still loomed around him, but something within him had changed. He no longer feared the war outside. He was now curious about the war within. His mind turned inward, seeking clarity on how to live in constant union with the divine. As Krishna stood before him in his calm, human form once more, Arjuna bowed with respect and asked with sincere curiosity, "O Krishna, tell me this. Which of the two is the better path to you? Is it the one who worships your formless, infinite aspect, the eternal, unmanifested Brahman? Or is it the one who worships you as a personal God, with devotion and love?" Krishna smiled gently, as a teacher might when a student asks the right question. "Both paths lead to me," he said. "Those who fix their minds on my unmanifested aspect, the formless, all-pervading spirit, with steady discipline and self-control, they too reach me." Krishna continued, "Therefore I say, those who worship me with love, who keep their minds on me and hearts devoted, those are the dearest to me. They perform their duties, surrender all actions to me, and live with simple hearts. They are never shaken by pain or pleasure. Their love is pure, free from attachment, pride, and anger." Arjuna's heart stirred. This was the path he felt drawn to, not just the path of knowledge or discipline, but the path of bhakti, of devotion. And so, Krishna described the nature of such a devotee, not just what they do, but who they are. "Arjuna," Krishna said, "my true devotee is one who is kind and compassionate to all beings. They are free from possessiveness and ego. They remain balanced in joy and sorrow, forgiving and content. They are self-controlled, firm in their resolve, and have surrendered their mind and intellect to me. Arjuna's thoughts turned to the great warriors he had admired, those strong in battle, firm in knowledge. Yet here, Krishna was describing strength of a different kind, the quiet strength of the heart. Krishna went on, "Such a devotee does not disturb the world, nor is disturbed by it. They are not driven by desire or fear. They are detached, free from gain and loss, and remain unmoved by honor or dishonor. They are silent when needed, satisfied with whatever comes, and live simply with a steady mind." Arjuna saw these traits not in war heroes, but in wise sages, humble elders, kind-hearted villagers, and the innocent, the ones often overlooked. He realized that devotion did not require wealth, rituals, or complex understanding. It required a pure heart. Krishna's words became gentler still. "Even if you cannot fix your mind completely on me, then try to reach me through regular practice. If you cannot practice consistently, then try to do all your actions for my sake. Even if you cannot do that, simply renounce the fruits of your actions. You will still find peace." This was a revelation to Arjuna. Krishna was not demanding perfection. He was offering many ways to grow in love, each suited to where a person stood in life. And among all paths, Krishna said, "Devotion is the easiest and the highest. Greater than those who follow dry knowledge or rituals are those who love me with all their heart. Such a devotee is closest to me." Krishna concluded with a soft, yet powerful truth. Those who follow this path of love with unwavering faith, those who make me their goal, who are free from hate and envy toward any creature, they are very dear to me. Meaning and symbolism. Chapter 12 of the Bhagavad Gita is also known as Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion, which emphasizes devotion, bhakti, as the highest path to attain God. This chapter of Bhagavad Gita is a spiritual treasure chest. It teaches that the path of love and devotion, Bhakti Yoga, is available to everyone, regardless of intellectual ability, social status, or life stage. The essence of true spirituality, according to Krishna, is not found in grand displays or rigid rituals, but in the simplicity of the heart, in humility, kindness, balance, and unwavering love for the divine. Krishna honors all paths, knowledge, jnana, selfless action, karma, and devotion, bhakti, but makes clear that the path of devotion is the most accessible and most joyous. It allows for gradual progress, accommodates imperfection, and welcomes sincere effort at every level. Bhakti is not about blind faith or empty rituals. It is about transforming your entire life into an expression of love through service, compassion, balance, and surrender. The inner journey of Arjuna. For Arjuna, this chapter marks a turning point in his inner journey. Once caught in despair, now he sees that spirituality is not just about fighting battles or mastering philosophy. It is about the heart, how we treat others, how we respond to pain and joy, how we carry love even in chaos. He understands that devotion is not weakness. It is the deepest form of strength. It is the strength to surrender the ego, to remain steady in hardship, and to love unconditionally. A message for all. In today's world, where many seek peace amid pressure, this chapter offers a timeless message. You don't need to be perfect, powerful, or profoundly wise to be spiritual. You just need a sincere heart. Whether you are in a temple, a battlefield, or your daily struggles, living with love, humility, and faith makes you divine. And that, says Krishna, makes you very dear to him. The Field and the Knower, Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 13. As the wind stirred the dust of Kurukshetra, the battlefield remained poised between silence and war. Arjuna stood beside Krishna, his heart more peaceful now than when their dialogue had begun. Yet questions still lingered in his mind, not about weapons or war, but about life itself. Krishna, Arjuna asked thoughtfully, "You have revealed so much to me, but there is something I do not yet understand. What is the field you speak of, and who is the knower of the field? What is it that truly makes up a living being?" Krishna turned to Arjuna with a serene gaze. "O Arjuna," he said, "the body is called the field, Ketra. It is where all experience occurs, pleasure and pain, birth and death. The one who knows this field, who is aware of the body and mind without being attached to them, is called the knower of the field, Kshatraja." Arjuna listened intently. Just as a farmer knows his land, its seeds, seasons, and soil, the soul knows its body. The body may change, decay, or die, but the knower remains unchanged. That knower is your true self, and beyond all individual knowers, Arjuna, I am the supreme knower in all beings. I am the witness within each soul. Arjuna's eyes widened. This was no longer just a lesson on identity. It was a revelation of the divine presence within all life. But how does one come to know this truth? Arjuna asked, "How can we see the difference between what changes and what never does?" Krishna replied, "One must cultivate knowledge, not just information, but a deep understanding of the self and the world. This knowledge begins with humility, nonviolence, patience, and honesty. It includes devotion to spiritual truth, detachment from material desires, and constant reflection on life's impermanence." He paused, letting the words settle. True knowledge is to recognize the difference between the physical body and the eternal soul. Ignorance is to believe the body alone is the self. Arjuna thought about all the people he had known, nobles and beggars, teachers and soldiers, all so different in appearance, yet perhaps united by a deeper truth. Krishna seemed to read his thoughts. "O Arjuna, all bodies arise from matter, but the consciousness within, the witness of all thoughts and actions, is divine. It is me. I dwell in all beings as the light of awareness." He continued, "Understand that all living things are made up of a union between Prakriti, nature, and Purusha, spirit. Nature gives rise to the body, the mind, the senses, and all activity. But the soul is beyond action. It merely observes. Nature causes change, while the soul remains still." Arjuna asked, "But why do we get caught in sorrow and suffering if the soul is beyond all this?" Krishna answered, "Because of attachment. The soul identifies with the body and becomes entangled in nature's drama. It forgets its true self and thinks, 'I am this body, I am this desire, I am this fear.' This illusion leads to bondage." But, he added with a gentle smile, "Those who recognize the soul as separate from nature are not bound. They see the one eternal spirit in all beings, whether in joy or pain. They know that the soul neither acts nor is touched by action." As the sun moved across the sky, Krishna's voice carried the weight of truth, yet the lightness of love. Just as the sun illuminates the world, the soul illuminates the body. Just as a single moon reflects in many lakes, the one self reflects in all beings. The wise see this and are never deluded. Arjuna felt his heart grow lighter. He began to understand, not only who he was, but also what others were beneath their fears and armor. And how does one come to truly see this? Arjuna asked, almost in a whisper. Krishna replied, through detachment, meditation, discrimination, and devotion. The one who sees the same eternal self in all things and sees all actions as arising from nature, not the self, achieves freedom. They are not bound by karma. He added, some reach this realization through deep contemplation, others through selfless service, some through devotion and surrender. Whatever the path, all who reach me do so by realizing the same truth, that I am the source and end of all things. Krishna then offered the final key. He who sees me equally present in all beings and sees no division between high and low, that one is truly wise. That one is never lost to me, and I am never lost to them. Meaning and symbolism. Chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita is also known as Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga, the yoga of the field and the knower of the field, which is a profound lesson in self-awareness and inner freedom. The field, Kshetra, symbolizes the body, mind, emotions, and material reality, all that is subject to change. The knower of the field, Kshetraja, is the soul, the unchanging observer, the pure consciousness within. Krishna emphasizes that we suffer because we identify with the body and forget our true nature. But liberation comes when we recognize that the soul is not the doer, merely the witness of actions performed by nature, Prakriti. By understanding this, a person becomes free from attachment, pride, fear, and suffering. This chapter beautifully blends Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge, with Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion, showing that realizing the truth intellectually is not enough. One must also live it with humility, love, and surrender. Arjuna's inner shift. For Arjuna, this teaching was like a mirror. He began to see not just his enemies on the battlefield, but also the divine presence within them. The old fear that had frozen him at the start of the Gita began to melt, replaced by clarity. He was not fighting as a selfish man, but acting as a soul fulfilling its role in a greater divine play. And most of all, he began to see Krishna not only as a friend or charioteer, but as the eternal self within all beings, including himself. A message for today. In a world filled with distractions, identities, and conflict, this chapter reminds us to look within. You're not the noise in your mind, not the labels placed on you, not even the body you inhabit. You are the silent witness, the one who watches thoughts rise and fall, the presence behind every breath. And in realizing that, you also recognize the same presence in others. That is the beginning of true wisdom and the foundation of unconditional love. The Dance of Nature, Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 14. The sun dipped low in the sky over Kurukshetra. The battlefield was calm for the moment, as if nature itself paused to listen to the sacred conversation between Arjuna and Krishna. Arjuna, now more centered but still seeking clarity, turned to Krishna with folded hands. "O Krishna," he said, "you've shown me the soul that lies beyond the body, beyond even the mind. But I still feel pulled by thoughts, emotions, and habits, sometimes toward peace, sometimes toward desire, and sometimes toward darkness. What causes this, and how can I rise above it?" Krishna looked upon Arjuna with affection, as a master gazes upon a beloved student nearing a great understanding. "You have asked well, Arjuna. Now I shall reveal to you the highest knowledge, knowledge that brings true freedom and leads directly to union with me. It is the key to breaking the cycle of birth and death." Arjuna listened with deep attention. Krishna continued, "Everything born in this world arises from Prakriti or nature, and nature is governed by three qualities or gunas. These are sattva, which is purity and harmony, rajas, which is passion and movement, and tamas, which is darkness and ignorance. All beings are influenced by these three. He paused, then said, "Let me tell you their nature, one by one." Sattva, the light of wisdom. Sattva is the quality of light, clarity, and balance. It brings joy, peace, and knowledge. When sattva prevails, a person is calm, wise, and selfless. They act without attachment, see truth clearly, and are drawn towards spiritual knowledge. Krishna painted an image in Arjuna's mind, a serene monk under a tree, meditating as the wind gently rustled the leaves. His mind was still, his eyes shining with compassion. This was a man in whom sattva reigned. But, Krishna added, even sattva binds the soul, Arjuna, by attachment to happiness and knowledge. One must transcend even this to be truly free. Rajas, the fire of desire. Rajas is the quality of energy, passion, and restlessness. Krishna continued. It is born of desire and longing. It binds the soul through attachment to action and its fruits. Arjuna now imagined a warrior charging in a battle, driven by ambition, or a merchant striving to grow rich, or a leader seeking praise and recognition, all moved by the flame of Rajas, powerful but never at peace. When Rajas dominates, Krishna said, the mind is agitated. Even when successful, the person feels unsettled. They want more. They chase outcomes, not understanding that peace comes from within. Tamas, the fog of ignorance. Then there is tamas, Krishna said, his voice calm but firm. Tamas is darkness, confusion, and laziness. It arises from ignorance and leads to delusion. It binds the soul with sleep, inertia, and carelessness. Arjuna saw a man sleeping through life, unaware of his potential. He blamed others for his suffering, refused to change, and was enslaved by habits. This was tamas, not evil but unconscious. When tamas prevails, Krishna explained, a person is dull, resistant to truth, and clings to fear or sorrow. They forget the divine spark within them. The cycle of the gunas. Krishna then said, these three qualities are constantly shifting. Sometimes sattva shines, pushing back rajas and tamas. Sometimes rajas blazes, suppressing sattva and tamas. And at other times, tamas covers everything like a heavy fog. All life is caught in this dance. Arjuna asked, and what happens at death when one of these qualities dominates? Krishna replied, if sattva dominates at death, the soul ascends to realms of purity and wisdom. If rajas dominates, it is reborn among those attached to action and desire. If tamas dominates, it descends into lives of ignorance and inertia. Arjuna was silent, contemplating the cycle of birth and rebirth. Beyond the gunas, then Krishna leaned closer and said something that made Arjuna's heart lift. But Arjuna, there's a higher path to rise above all three gunas. The soul that knows the gunas as separate from itself and is not disturbed when they act is free. Arjuna's eyes brightened. What does such a person look like, Krishna? How does one who transcends the gunas live? Krishna smiled. He is neither elated when sattva prevails, nor disturbed when rajas or tamas arise. He sees all three as natural forces of the body and mind, but he is not those things. He remains still, equal in pleasure and pain, fame and disgrace, success and failure. He treats gold and dust alike. Arjuna could now imagine such a soul, peaceful in all conditions, as steady as a mountain, living in the world but not of it. He does not hate the gunas, Krishna said, nor does he cling to them. He understands that they are part of nature's play. He watches them rise and fall like waves on the ocean. And such a person, Krishna declared, is truly fit for liberation. They are free from rebirth. They dwell in me, and I dwell in them. The highest goal. Krishna's words grew radiant as the sun dipped lower on the horizon. When the soul rises beyond the three gunas, it becomes established in its true nature, pure consciousness. It merges into me, the eternal, changeless source of all. This is the supreme goal. Arjuna felt a deep peace descend over him. The battlefield had not changed, but he had. He saw now that the real battle was not between armies, but within the self, between light, fire, and shadow. And the true victory was not just to act, but to act with awareness of the eternal self within. Symbolism and meaning. Chapter 14 of the Bhagavad Gita, which is also known as Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, the yoga of the three gunas, which describes the three qualities, sattva, rajas, tamas, that influence all beings. This teaches that all of life is influenced by three energies. 1. Sattva, purity, balance, leads toward wisdom and peace. 2. Rajas, activity, passion, leads toward ambition and restlessness. 3. Tamas, inertia, ignorance, leads toward stagnation and confusion. Krishna shows that spiritual progress is not about destroying the gunas, but transcending them through discernment, devotion, and inner steadiness. A message for today. In modern life, we often swing between rajas, overwork, ambition, tamas, distraction, laziness, and glimpses of sattva, peace, clarity. But the teaching of chapter 14 reminds us, you are not your mood, your habits, or even your thoughts. You are the silent witness behind them all. When we cultivate awareness, we can rise above the push and pull of these qualities and find true freedom. And in that freedom, says Krishna, the soul becomes one with the divine. The Tree of Life, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15. The battlefield of Kurukshetra lay silent again, only the rustle of wind among the armor and flags disturbing the calm. Amid this stillness, Arjuna turned once more to his divine guide, Krishna. With the battle of duty and identity still stirring in his heart, Arjuna asked, Krishna, I now understand much of what you have taught about the body and soul, action and inaction. But still, I do not see how this world works, what holds it all together, and how can I truly escape the cycle of life and death? Krishna looked into the distance, as if seeing through the fabric of time itself. Arjuna, he began, I will now tell you of the Supreme Self, that which lies beyond all. Knowing this, you will have reached the very heart of wisdom. The upside-down tree. Imagine a great tree with roots that grow upward and branches that spread downward. This is the tree of life, the Ashvatha tree. Its root is in the eternal world, but its branches stretch into this temporary, material world. Arjuna pictured this strange but beautiful tree, luminous roots reaching toward the sky, with leaves of scriptures and fruits of pleasure, pain, desire, and experience. Krishna continued, this tree is fed by desires and actions. Its branches spread into every corner of human life, joy, sorrow, knowledge, ignorance. But though it seems real, it is not eternal. It is an illusion, Maya, a reflection of the true tree that grows in the spiritual realm. The wise do not waste time climbing this illusory tree, Krishna said. They take an axe of detachment and cut it down at the root. Only then can they search for the supreme origin, which lies beyond the senses and beyond confusion. Where do souls come from? Arjuna asked, what is the soul's journey, Krishna? How do we come here, and where do we go? Krishna explained, in truth, Arjuna, every soul is eternal, but it forgets its true nature and enters this world. I, the Supreme Person, send a spark of myself into each being, This is the individual soul. This soul enters a body and gives it life, the light in the eyes, the breath in the lungs, the power of the mind and heart. When the body dies, the soul carries its tendencies, desires, and memories to a new body, just like the wind carries the scent of a flower from one place to another. Arjuna imagined souls flying through lifetimes, searching for truth, but getting distracted by the glitter of the world. The role of Krishna, the Supreme Person. Krishna said, "Though I'm beyond this world, I enter into it again and again. I give light to the sun, flavor to water, and strength to life. I am the source of all things, yet I remain untouched by them. Arjuna, I dwell in the hearts of all beings. I give them the power to remember, to think, and to understand. I am both the creator and the destroyer, the seed and the tree, the goal and the path." Many people worship gods, read scriptures, and perform rituals, but the one who truly knows me as the Supreme Person, beyond the perishable and imperishable, that person has found true wisdom. The three aspects of reality. Krishna now described the three parts of reality: perishable, kshara, all material things that are born and die; our body, the world, emotions, thoughts. These are temporary and constantly changing. Imperishable, akshara, the individual soul, which never dies but moves from one life to another. The Supreme Person, Purushottama, that which is beyond both the changing and the unchanging, the ultimate reality, the divine source of all. Arjuna, Krishna said gently, "Among all beings, I am known as Purushottama, the Supreme Person who is beyond this world and beyond even the soul. Knowing me in this way frees one forever." A seeker's journey. To bring the teaching to life, Krishna shared a story, a parable of a seeker. Long ago, there was a wise young boy named Kavi. From a young age, Kavi asked questions no one else dared to ask. Why are people born? Why do they suffer? What lies beyond the stars? His village elders tried to quiet him with rituals and promises of heaven, but he was not satisfied. One day, an old wandering sage came to his village. Seeing the fire in Kavi's eyes, the sage took him aside and whispered, "Do you want to see the true tree of life?" Kavi nodded eagerly. The sage guided him deep into the forest and showed him a great tree, roots growing upward, branches downward, glowing faintly. "This is the illusion," the sage said. "Your desires grow its branches. Your thoughts feed its roots, but you must go beyond it." "How?" Kavi asked. "Take this axe," the sage said, handing him a simple stick labeled detachment, "and cut away all false beliefs. Then follow the root upward to the source." Kavi spent years meditating, learning to see the world not with desire, but with understanding. One day, he felt the tree disappear, and in its place, he saw a great light. He merged into it, calm, peaceful, infinite. He had met the Supreme Person, not outside but within. Returning to the battlefield, Arjuna listened with awe. His heart, once heavy with confusion, now felt light with understanding. He realized, the world is not wrong, but it is not the final truth. The soul must rise above desires, illusions, and ego to meet the Supreme. Krishna's voice was like a river of light. "So, Arjuna, be rooted in me. Act in the world, but do not be trapped by it. Know that I am the eternal truth behind all things." This is the greatest wisdom, and those who realize it are truly wise. Arjuna bowed his head, not in sadness, but in deep peace. He was ready to face the battle, not just outside, but within, and to live a life guided by the truth of the Supreme Person. Message of Chapter 15, Purushottama Yoga, the Yoga of the Supreme Person, which discusses the eternal soul material world, and the Supreme Person, Purushotama. Arjuna, Krishna said gently, "Among all beings, I am known as Purushotama, the Supreme Person who is beyond this world and beyond even the soul. Knowing me in this way frees one forever." Life is like an upside-down tree, rooted in the eternal, but confused by illusion. The soul is a spark of the divine, traveling through bodies and lifetimes. Lord Krishna, God, is the Supreme Person, Purushotama, beyond both change and permanence. Wisdom is to see through illusion, detach from ego and desire, and know the divine within. This chapter shows how to escape the cycle of birth and death by connecting to the eternal source. The Two Paths, Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 16. Once upon a time, in the middle of the great battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjuna was sitting on a chariot, confused and worried. The war was about to begin, and the sounds of conch shells and war drums filled the air. Krishna, his charioteer and divine guide, had been teaching him the secrets of life, duty, and the soul. Now, Krishna began to explain something even deeper, the difference between the good and the bad qualities inside all people. Arjuna, Krishna said gently, "There are two paths in this world. One is bright and filled with light, the path of the divine. The other is dark and dangerous, the path of the demonic." Arjuna looked up, listening carefully. "Let me tell you about both, so you can understand what kind of person you must become," Krishna continued. The divine nature. People who follow the divine path, Krishna said, have noble qualities. They are kind, truthful, and full of love. They're not proud. They speak gently. They forgive easily. Their hearts are calm like a peaceful lake. Krishna's voice was like a gentle river as he listed the divine qualities. 1. Fearlessness. 2. Purity of heart. 3. Steady wisdom. 4. Kindness to all. 5. Nonviolence. 6. Truthfulness. 7. Forgiveness. 8. Compassion. 9. Self-control. 10. Faith in the divine. These people do not hate others, Krishna explained. They work to help, not to hurt. They are humble, honest, and don't chase after too much wealth or fame. They know life is not about showing off, but about doing what is right. The demonic nature. Now, Krishna said more seriously, "Let me tell you about the demonic nature." Arjuna listened, eyes wide. People with demonic qualities are full of pride, anger, and greed. They lie, cheat, and think only about themselves. They hurt others to get what they want. They don't believe in the soul or the law of karma. They say, there is no God. Life is only about power and pleasure. Krishna shook his head sadly. These people live without rules or respect. They are full of desire and never feel satisfied. They laugh at kindness and call it weakness. In their hearts, they are restless, always burning with want. Then Krishna said, desire, anger, and greed are the 3 gates to hell. Whoever avoids them walks the path of peace. A tale of 2 brothers. To help Arjuna understand better, Krishna shared a story. There were once 2 brothers, Suraj and Varun, he said. Suraj was calm, kind, and thoughtful. He helped the poor, respected his teachers, and never spoke a lie. He worked hard and shared whatever he earned. Varun, on the other hand, was greedy. He laughed at people who prayed or followed rules. He made fun of Suraj and said, "You are weak. Life is for fun and power." He became rich by cheating and hurting others, but his mind was never at peace. He was always afraid someone would take his money. One day, Suraj found a small, sick bird and nursed it back to health. He said, "Every living thing deserves love." Varun saw this and laughed. "What can a bird give you? You waste your time." But years passed. When trouble came, people remembered Suraj's kindness and helped him. He lived a happy life surrounded by love. Varun, though rich, ended up alone. His fear and anger chased away everyone around him. Krishna looked at Arjuna and said, "That is the difference between the divine and the demonic. Free will and choice." "Krishna," Arjuna asked, "what if someone has bad qualities? Are they doomed forever?" Krishna smiled. "No, Arjuna. Everyone has a chance to change. You are not born good or bad. Your actions make you who you are. Even someone with a dark heart can walk toward the light if they choose the right path." "How?" Arjuna asked. "By controlling their desires," Krishna replied. "By seeking truth, by learning, by remembering me." The three gates to hell. Krishna then warned, "Desire, anger, and greed are like gates that lead to darkness. Shut those gates, Arjuna. Those who escape them reach peace." He continued, "People who ignore the teachings of right and wrong, who think they are above everything, fall into confusion and pain. But those who follow truth and live with faith, they rise." Follow the scriptures. Krishna said, "The Vedas and scriptures are like lamps that light your path. They help you know what to do and what not to do. Don't act just for fun or pride. Choose what is right, even if it is hard." Arjuna's understanding. Arjuna nodded slowly. "Now I understand. A divine person is calm, kind, and controlled. A demonic person is greedy, angry, and selfish. And I can choose which one I want to be." Krishna smiled. "Yes, Arjuna. That is the power each of us has, the power to choose the light." Final lesson. Bhagavad Gita chapter 16, which is also known as Daivasurath Sampad Vibhaga Yoga, the yoga of divine and demoniac natures, where contrasts divine traits with demonic tendencies in human behavior. So, what did Arjuna learn from chapter 16 of the Gita? That every person has a choice. 1. To walk in light or to stumble in darkness. 2. To listen to wisdom or follow pride. 3. To build peace or chase after endless wants. And with faith, courage, and love, anyone can choose the path of the divine. The three kinds of faith. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, Shraddha Vibhaga Yoga, the yoga of the threefold faith. The battlefield of Kurukshetra was filled with tension. Armies stood ready, but in one quiet corner, Arjuna sat in a chariot, deep in thought. Beside him was Krishna, his divine guide and friend. "Krishna," Arjuna said, "I have one more question. You spoke of faith and following the scriptures. But what about people who worship with faith, even if they don't follow the Vedas? Are they right or wrong?" Krishna nodded, pleased with the question. "Arjuna," he said, "every person is full of faith, but not all faith is the same. Just as food, actions, and people differ, so does faith. It is shaped by the nature of each soul." The three gunas and faith. Everything in this world, Krishna explained, is influenced by the three gunas or qualities: sattva, goodness; rajas, passion; and tamas, ignorance. These also shape the way people believe and act. 1. Sattvic faith, pure and calm. Those with sattvic faith worship gods and goodness. They are peaceful, kind, and filled with light. They seek truth and serve others with no desire for reward. Their hearts are clean, and their actions are guided by wisdom. Krishna told a story. The peaceful farmer. Once there was a farmer named Dev. Every morning, he lit a small lamp and offered fresh flowers to the sun. He never asked for riches or fame. "Let my family be safe," he whispered. "Let me do good work today." Dev gave food to travelers and shared his harvest with the poor. He never shouted or fought. His faith was quiet but strong, like a river flowing gently. One day, a drought came, and the village wells dried up. Yet Dev's well stayed full. People came to him, and he gave water to all. When asked how his well stayed full, he smiled and said, "Maybe the sun I prayed to smile back." Lesson: faith that is pure and selfless brings peace and joy to the world. 2. Rajasic faith, showy and restless. Then Krishna said, there are those with Rajasic faith. They are full of desire. They worship spirits or powers hoping for money, success, or fame. They make big shows of their faith, but it's all for pride. The proud merchant. There was a merchant named Raghav who built a huge temple. He invited thousands for a feast and lit fireworks that reached the sky. But behind the curtain, he scolded his workers and cheated his customers. "Look at me," he would shout. "See how grand my temple is." He fasted, not to purify himself, but to gain blessings for wealth. He donated, but only when people were watching. In time, his riches grew, but so did his worries. He trusted no one, and his heart was never at peace. Lesson: faith used for pride or reward brings no real happiness. 3. Tamasic faith, dark and harmful. And finally, Krishna said, there are those with tamasic faith. They worship ghosts or strange powers. They follow odd rituals that hurt themselves or others. They do not think, they just follow blindly. The misguided man. In a lonely forest lived a man named Kal. He believed that hurting his body would bring him powers. So he starved himself, walked on thorns, and never bathed. He scared people away, saying he was holy. But his mind became darker each day. He saw enemies everywhere, and even hurt animals, thinking it pleased the spirits. One day, a kind sage visited him and said, "This is not faith, it is fear. True devotion never harms." Kal looked into the sage's gentle eyes, and for the first time in years, wept. He began to change. Lesson: faith without understanding leads to harm. Real devotion is never cruel. Food, sacrifice, and charity also reflect faith. Krishna explained further, even what people eat, how they give, and how they worship reflects their faith. Food. Sattvic food is fresh, clean, and nourishing. It brings health and joy. Rajasic food is too spicy or oily, exciting in taste, but causing restlessness. Tamasic food is stale, impure, or made without care. It brings sadness and confusion. Sacrifice, yajna. A sattvic person offers sacrifice with devotion and discipline, asking for nothing in return. A rajasic person sacrifices only to show off or gain something. A tamasic person performs strange rituals without any wisdom or good purpose. Charity, dana. Sattvic charity is given at the right time, to the right person, with no desire for reward. Rajasic charity is done with pride. Look how generous I am. Tamasic charity is done at the wrong time, to unworthy causes or with insult. The power of Om Tat Sat. Then Krishna shared a great secret. There are 3 sacred sounds that guide all good actions: Om, Tat, and Sat. These words belong to the truth. Om is the sound of the universe, used at the start of all noble actions and prayers. Tat means that, referring to the divine beyond selfishness. When you give or act saying Tat, you expect no reward. Sat means truth and goodness. Anything done with sincerity and faith is Sat. Use these, Krishna said, to keep your mind focused on truth. Then even a simple act becomes divine. Arjuna's reflection. Arjuna sat in silence for a moment. The sky above was still. The battlefield, though filled with soldiers, felt far away. So he said softly, Faith is not just about worship. It is seen in how we eat, speak, give, and live. And we must ask ourselves, why do we do what we do? Krishna nodded. Yes, Arjuna. Let your faith be pure. Let it shine through every action with no pride or greed. Then your life will become a prayer, and peace will follow you like a shadow. Lesson from Chapter 17 of Bhagavad Gita, which is also known as Shraddha-traya Vibhaga Yoga, the yoga of the threefold faith, which explores the different types of faith according to the three gunas. This chapter, Arjuna learned that faith takes many forms, but only pure, kind, and selfless faith leads to truth and happiness. Whether in food, prayer, charity, or sacrifice, the reason behind the act matters more than the act itself. Let your actions come from the heart. Let your faith be full of light. The final choice, Bhagavad Gita, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, the yoga of liberation and renunciation. As the sun began its slow ascent, casting golden light over the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the air hung heavy, not with arrows or war cries, but with silence. In the heart of the field stood Arjuna, the warrior prince, and beside him, Krishna, the charioteer who was also the supreme divine. Arjuna's bow rested beside him. The battle had not yet begun, but the greater war, within his heart, raged on. Krishna, Arjuna said softly, turning toward his friend and guide, you have taught me so much about the soul, about action, about devotion. But one question remains. Please, once and for all, tell me, what is better, renunciation of action or doing one's duty without attachment? Krishna smiled, his eyes deep like the universe. Both paths, Arjuna, sannyasa, renunciation, and tyaga, selfless action, can lead to liberation. But of the two, tyaga, the path of doing one's duty without craving the results, is superior. Arjuna listened, his heart open like the sky. Krishna continued, let me explain. Every action has three parts, duty, fruit, and doer. The wise one performs action as a matter of duty, not for reward. That is true renunciation. He paused and looked at Arjuna gently. But not all renunciation is wise. Some abandon their duties because they're difficult or unpleasant. That, Arjuna, is tamasic or dark renunciation. It brings delusion. Others give up action out of fear of suffering. That's rajasic or passionate renunciation, driven by emotion. But the one who performs duty with no selfish motive, without attachment to success or failure, that's sattvic, pure renunciation. Arjuna nodded slowly, absorbing each word like a parched earth drinking rain. Krishna then spoke of something deeper, the essence of action itself. Every action arises from five causes: the body, the doer, the senses, the breath, and the inner self or soul. The one who thinks, I alone do everything, is deluded. The wise know that we are instruments. Action flows through us, but we are not the doers. Arjuna remembered his earlier despair, when he had refused to fight, thinking it would be sinful. Now, he began to see, when one acts as per one's dharma, without ego, even the act of war can be righteous. Let me tell you about the three types of knowledge, action, and doers, Arjuna, Krishna continued. The sattvic knowledge sees the unity in diversity, that one eternal spirit dwells in all beings. The rajasic knowledge sees the world as fragmented, many separate beings, each different. The tamasic knowledge is limited, clinging to a single idea without reason or truth. Similarly, Krishna explained, sattvic action is done without attachment, in line with dharma. Rajasic action is done for selfish gains, with great effort and craving. Tamasic action is impulsive, deluded, harmful, and done without care. Arjuna was silent, but his heart was stirred. "And what of the doer?" he asked. "The sattvic doer is detached, steady, and calm, undaunted by success or failure. The rajasic doer is greedy, ambitious, and always craving results. The tamasic doer is lazy, careless, and stubborn." Krishna then spoke of understanding and will, the intellect that guides us, and the inner resolve that fuels our actions. Sattvic understanding sees clearly what should be done and avoided. Sattvic will brings steadfastness in concentration and devotion. Rajasic understanding is confused by desires. Rajasic will is driven by success and reward. Tamasic understanding sees wrong as right. Tamasic will is stubborn and blind. Arjuna listened, feeling clarity descend upon his once turbulent mind. Even happiness, Arjuna, Krishna smiled, has three kinds. Sattvic happiness comes like poison at first but turns to nectar. It arises from inner peace. Rajasic happiness is sweet at first, like nectar, but becomes poison, as it is born from indulgence. Tamasic happiness is delusion from beginning to end, sleep, laziness, and forgetfulness. Krishna paused, allowing the truths to settle. "Now, hear of Svabhava, your inner nature. Each being is born with a mix of three qualities, sattva, rajas, and tamas. These shape their actions and their dharma." He described four natural inclinations, or varnas, not as rigid castes, but as innate tendencies. Brahmanas, wisdom seekers, guided by calmness, knowledge, and purity. Kshatriyas, warriors and protectors, driven by bravery, leadership, and duty. Vaishyas, traders and farmers, drawn to commerce and nurture. Shudras, helpers, drawn to service and support. Arjuna, Krishna said firmly, no one is higher or lower. What matters is doing your own duty with devotion. Even if imperfect, your dharma is better than another's done perfectly. Arjuna's eyes shone. His soul was catching fire again, not from anger or pride, but from divine clarity. Krishna concluded, the supreme goal, moksha, comes to the one who dedicates all actions to me, who surrenders ego, and lives without desire or hatred. That one attains Brahman, the eternal spirit, becoming calm, content, and free. Then Krishna's voice softened like the rustling of leaves. Abandoning all forms of duty, surrender completely to me. I shall free you from all sin. Do not fear. Tears welled in Arjuna's eyes, not of sorrow, but of relief, love, and awakening. You have heard all this, Arjuna, Krishna asked gently. Has your delusion been destroyed? Arjuna stood tall now, no longer burdened by confusion. Yes, Krishna, my doubts are gone. My understanding is clear. I will do as you command. A smile passed between them. And as the conch shells blew and the war cries rose, Arjuna picked up his bow, not in anger or ambition, but with the calm power of one who had discovered his purpose. And thus, the song of the Bhagavad Gita, the divine dialogue between man and God, reached its end, not as a conclusion, but as a beginning. Moral of Chapter 18 is also known as Moksha Sannyasa Yoga. The yoga of liberation and renunciation describes a summary and culmination of all teachings, leading to liberation, moksha. True renunciation is not escape from duty, but freedom from attachment. When one acts with devotion, surrendering the fruits to the divine, one reaches peace, purpose, and finally, liberation.